Today on CityCast Denver. We're taking some time off as the year wraps up, but we didn't want to leave you hanging. So we're replaying some of our favorite episodes of the year and bestowing some well-deserved superlatives. Our pick for the guest who was the biggest Bagel fan of the year is journalist David Sirota. David joined us in September to talk about his beloved Jewish deli, Zadie's, and what its return meant to Southeast Denver. And we haven't stopped thinking about those bagels ever since. We'll be back in the new year with fresh episodes. Today is Wednesday, December 29th, 2021. I'm Bree Davies, and this is CityCast Denver. So do you live in the neighborhood?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I live down near, I guess Virginia Village. Yeah, Bill.
That's where I grew up.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Whereabouts?
Holly in Florida-ish.
No way.
Yeah.
That's like right near where I live.
Many Denverites will recognize David Sirota's voice from his old talk shows on KKZN or KHOW. But of course, Sirota is also a journalist and, in recent years, a national political figure. He was a speechwriter on the most recent Bernie Sanders presidential campaign and currently serves as founder and editor-in-chief of the politics newsletter, The Daily Poster. But we're not talking about any of that today, because he might just be Zadie's biggest fan. Okay, David Sirota, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we're at Zadie's. Not technically in Cherry Creek anymore. Zadie's of Virginia Vale.
Southeast Denver.
Southeast Denver.
Living
Yes,
the dream.
For folks that don't know.
Yeah.
And you're not from Denver, right?
No, I grew up outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
Something that John Hickenlooper and I share in common. Maybe the only thing that John Hickenlooper and I share in common.
I didn't realize that's where he grew up.
Yep.
I always just associate him with Colorado, too. It's actually not hard, though.
Yeah.
So I guess I asked that because I wanted to kind of gauge or get a feel for how you were introduced to Zadie's in the first place.
So we were living in Mayfair when we first moved to Denver from Montana. And we had moved, as I said, from Montana, where there were, to say the least, not many Jewish delis.
I can imagine.
Not a lot of Jewish food available in Montana. And we were looking for a Jewish deli, and the closest one to Mayfair, I think I'm not speaking out of turn, but was Zadie's. When we visited, the only other, my brother took us to the Bagel Deli.
Sure.
But that's kind of far from Mayfair.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of
I
like
love
on
the Bagel Deli.
But it is kind of like on the other side of town.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. I am now situated, I think, geographically
Yes.
between Zadie's and the Bagel Deli.
Yes. And
a few blocks from Rosenberg's Kosher.
Yes. And I am a fan of New York Deli News. Was
Yes.
my spot.
Yes. I
So
mean, it's actually pretty good.
You're pretty central
Yeah.
to our Jewish deli
Totally.
situation.
You know, my parents are New Yorkers, and so I really feel like I now have a selection.
You're in a good spot.
Oh yeah.
What did you like about the old Zadie's?
I think first and foremost, what I liked is that it had everything, just like the new one does, that's authentic to what I grew up knowing as a Jewish deli.
Sure.
Right? Like, it had the counter, it had the fish, it had the bagels, it had the rugelach, it had just all of the things that make a true Jewish deli. And like on the East Coast where I grew up, you get used to that being ubiquitous and available
Yes.
everywhere. And that's not ubiquitous and available everywhere.
No.
And especially, it's not just, bagels are ubiquitous everywhere, but a Jewish deli is not.
But yes, all the trappings of a Jewish deli.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when my parents would come in and visit, and they like the comforts of East Coast Jewish food.
Sure.
So I'd be like, Mom, it's Denver. It's like, it's not that. I'm not living in Siberia. Like, look, they got a Jewish deli. Zadie's. Let's go there.
Yeah, that's a good point, though, that the ubiquity of this cultural fare on the East Coast is so different than here, where like I think about diner food and it's generally Mexican food, and we do have a lot of Greek influence in our diner food. But that idea of the Jewish deli is not as ubiquitous. But as you've pointed out, there's several spots you can get great.
Yeah, and it's a specialty. I mean, I think
Yeah.
growing up on the East Coast, you in some ways you don't even realize it is a specialty. It's just food.
Right, it's just what you're used to eating.
Right.
Totally.
Like out here in this area, in this region of the country, it's more of like this is a specialty, or at least a kind of ethnic food.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not something you connect with the West,
Right.
though Jewish people were an integral part of the development of Denver.
Absolutely. And food is a big part of it.
Right. What you learn, later on by where our Jewish communities are situated within the city, which we're kind of in one right now.
Yep.
So how did you feel when you found out Zadie's was closing last year?
I was really crushed, and I was crushed because Zadie's became the way that I could give my wife a break almost every week, really, where when my young son, when I needed to take him out of the house to give mom, the morning, I don't know, Sunday morning, Saturday morning, we would always go to Zadie's. And it became like a thing with him, like, when are we going to Zadie's?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and we knew one of the waitresses there named Jill. And so it was this kind of, like, the old Zadie's in my mind is linked with my young son.
Yeah.
Like that first couple of years as a dad.
A thing that you just do together.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also like introducing him to the culture that you grew up
Absolutely.
with. This episode is brought to you by Choir League. Choir League presents Sing and Shout, an unforgettable afternoon celebrating the powerful legacy of African American spirituals, the foundation of all American music. On Sunday, May 4th at 3:30 p.m., join Lonnie Norwood, gospel singer and teacher from the South Side of Chicago, for a workshop and performance with Choir League. Lonnie will guide folks through this powerful American art form, where it came from, and how it informed American music that came after it. You can buy tickets now on Eventbrite and enjoy the show with Lonnie, but you can also join Choir League. The group meets weekly for practice at local breweries and distilleries. Singers can sign up for 6 to 8 week sessions, and there's always a performance at the end of each cycle. There's no audition to join and no experience necessary. Tickets for the May 4th show with Lonnie Norwood are on sale now at Eventbrite. Just check the link in our show notes. For more information on the program and joining the choir, visit choirleague.com or email info@choirleague.com. Okay, so we're at the News 80s.
Right.
In Virginia Vale, one neighborhood over from where you live.
Right.
How did you feel about it moving into your neighborhood?
Oh, I was totally psyched. I mean, it fits in great here. I mean, the Southeast Denver, I think it's a little bit off the radar.
Yes.
I think it's not that it doesn't have its own identity. It absolutely does. But I think people who don't live here don't really
come over here.
They don't necessarily think it has its own identity. I mean, I will also add that I don't necessarily think a huge number of people necessarily think of themselves as living in Southeast Denver.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
As opposed to other places in the city.
It doesn't have an identifiable neighborhood, like an neighborhood identity in the same way that if you say, I'm from the North Side,
Right.
or I'm trying to even think, like Wash Park or something.
Right.
Like people can picture it who don't live there.
But what's I think is great about it is that I think that gives it an authenticity.
Yes.
That it's not self-consciously trying to be a thing. It's just like it's almost like a not having been promoted as having a specific identity creates an authenticity to the area. I mean, it's a great community, and we love living here. And when we moved into this community, I guess it was more than 10 years ago, we were psyched. I mean, down here, I mean, I have to tell you, when I have friends across the city, I'm always like, Yeah, like come on down here. They're like, where do you live? What is it called? What's that area again? Like what? I had another friend say something along the lines of, and I'm not endorsing this, but he said something along the lines of, Southeast Denver is where you go after you get priced out and douchebagged out of the Highlands, and you have a family.
You want a ranch with a couple bedrooms?
I'm not saying I endorse that view. Like I like the Highlands, but like.
Oh, it's such a different vibe.
Yeah,
though.
totally.
It's such a different vibe, and like.
And let me say that. I think Zadie's moving into this neighborhood. Actually, no disrespect to Cherry Creek, but its vibe fits in better here.
100%.
Like when Zadie's was at First and Steel, right near First and Steel,
yep.
and all that,
Stuff went up
she
around
development.
It. Yes,
it started growing. Zadie's started looking. I don't want to say out of place, but it looked kind of like.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think that this is something I was thinking about when we were prepping for this conversation. Was like, there's this thing about Cherry Creek that just doesn't exist anymore, and it's fine. It's always been nicer, but people didn't necessarily know, especially when I was growing up. It was more middle working class folks. There were a lot of independent businesses, and a Zadie's fit in there, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Then giant development goes in, which is fine. The neighborhood has evolved. Zadie's kind of outgrew Zadie's, but in a way that like this couldn't have been a better location.
Right, exactly.
Now.
I mean, it's like it fits in perfectly. And by the way, that's New York Deli News, the Bagel Deli. It's the same kind of vibe. And I do think it's interesting. There is kind of a bagel war in Denver. I don't know if you've sort of keyed into that.
Yes.
Like,
do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I don't know all of the details of the bagel war, but I can tell you this. The Bagel Deli's bagels are different from the Rosenberg's bagels. And by the way, the Rosenbergs, they produce their bagels at the kosher bagel place, and then they produce other bagels up at Stanley Market. I mean, I think they're producing them there. I don't know how different they are, those two, but they're, different places they make them. Then Zadie's is apparently making their own bagels as well.
Yes.
So that's a lot of like bagel infrastructure.
Yeah.
In a small area of the city.
But it speaks to also the growing city.
Yes, absolutely.
And the need for more bagels.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, I'll just give you my take. The Bagel Deli's bagels, I think, are Moe's bagels. I think that's where they get them from. Hopefully the Bagel Deli, if I'm wrong, hopefully I'm not going to get in trouble. But they are less, I mean, I like them all, by the way. But they are less great on the texture, but they put a lot of stuff on the bagel, which I appreciate. Rosenberg's is, I think, probably the best soft to crispy on the outside, which is the trick of bagel making, because they invested in the water and making it like New York water. But Rosenberg's, for some reason, they don't include a ton of stuff on the bagels. Like, it's an everything bagel, but it's like only kind of, it's like a sort of everything, right? And I think Zadie's actually is kind of in the middle. Like, they more stuff, not as much as the Bagel Deli. I would say it's close on the texture, not just there, but pretty close. And so it's a nice mix. Now you can see how much of a bagel nerd I am. Now, what I'm nervous about is we're doing your podcast, and now everyone's gonna be like, "Wait a minute, with Southeast Denver, I gotta go." Like, there's gonna be like, shh, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. It's just like you've run into a ton of people since we've been sitting here for an hour.
Yeah.
I ran into somebody. Like, it is a communal hangout. Come get a cup of coffee. Come have lunch. You could have a business meeting here. Maybe you have a family breakfast. Like, it's one of those spots, and I think this was the perfect.
Yes, I agree. And I will say the one thing I will say about Southeast Denver that has been a little bit of a challenge for the area is there are not a ton of actually restaurants in Southeast Denver.
Absolutely.
They're really, and I knew this from I learned this in intensely when my wife was running for state legislature down here. You'd always be looking for restaurants to have an event or to do a meeting or whatever. And especially the way her district lines were drawn, there were so few restaurants. So any good restaurants opening and like, kind of middle class, relatively affordable restaurants opening up in the community is really, really good.
It's a good sign.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that we had this when I was a kid, because honestly, I was telling our producer, Paul, who lives in the neighborhood as well, when I was a kid, Esther's, which is up on Holly Street, was a bar called Easy Pickins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that transition.
And, like, I would have loved for my family to have a restaurant that we could have
I mean,
gone to.
Esther's is, like...
I love it.
It's amazing.
I love it.
And the folks who have built their vision there, I mean, they have done such a good job.
And it's busy. And I think that something to set the scene for folks that haven't been over here. In Denver, a lot of our good restaurants are hidden in strip malls. And we are currently in a strip mall. So maybe if you didn't know it was over here,
that's right.
You would miss it, but it's a perfect spot.
Yes, it is a perfect spot, and I'm really thrilled that they are here. And by the way, as I said, my son is thrilled that we're here. It's like we're going back to when he was little, and I mean, literally last weekend he was like, we call it special dad time. He's like, can we do special dad time? Can we go to Zadie's? I was like, dude, that's perfect.
Drive
Let's
down
do that.
5 minutes down the street.
Exactly.
It's great. Well, David, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, producer Xander McMahon here, wishing you a happy holiday on behalf of the whole CityCast Denver team. And I'm here to remind you that we won't have any fresh episodes until the new year, but stick with us. We have more superlatives to hand out this week that we're super excited about. Also, if you're feeling generous and want to give us a present this holiday season, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts would be sublime. All right, we'll talk to you soon.